Kings 10. When the queen of Sheba heard about Solomon, she came to challenge him with difficult questions. She arrived in Jerusalem with a great display of pomp, bringing with her camels carrying spices, a very large quantity of gold, and precious gems. She visited Solomon and discussed with him everything that was on her mind. Solomon answered all her questions. There was no question too complex for the king. When the queen of Sheba saw for herself Solomon's extensive wisdom, the palace he had built, the food in his banquet hall, his servants and attendants, their robes, his cupbearers, and his burnt offerings which he presented in the Lord's temple, she was amazed. She said to the king, "The report I heard in my own country about your wise sayings and insights was true. I didn't believe these things until I came and I saw them with my own eyes. Indeed, I didn't even hear half the story. Your wisdom and wealth surpass what was reported to me. Your attendants, who stand before you all the time and hear your wise sayings, are truly happy. May the Lord your God be praised because he favored you by placing you on the throne of Israel. Because of the Lord's eternal love for Israel, he made you king so you can make just and right decisions." She gave the king 120 talents of gold, a very large quantity of spices and precious gems. The quantity of spices the queen of Sheba gave King Solomon has never been matched. All right, so we have a foreign dignitary who hears of the wisdom of Solomon and the splendor of his kingdom. She comes to see for herself and is thoroughly impressed because it surpasses everything that she had been told. The voice needed a laugh this morning. Thanks, sunshine. So it's totally wicked. It's above everything I could ever imagine. So the wisdom, she asked every question that he could. Now, there's nothing in this that says that, oh, well, she was a woman and that's why his wisdom. No. This is a foreign dignitary, a head of state who would be educated, who has come, who has questions. None of the questions are told to us. So what are her questions? No idea. However, she is praising the God of Israel in all of this, and she is praising Solomon, and then she's presenting him with gifts to Solomon. And then the spices that she brings have never been matched. There has not come like these spices, yet a quantity which Solomon, queen of Sheba, gave to Solomon. Okay, quantity which, okay. I wondered if it was to this very day, but I didn't see that phrase in there. That's a common phrase that is repeated. Okay, so we have her coming. She's presenting. There's an outside external source that validates that, yeah, this wasn't just Israel sucking up to Solomon, saying he was all that in a bag of chips. He was all that in the realm of wisdom. Hiram's fleet, which carried gold from Ophir, also brought from Ophir a very large quantity of fine timber and precious gems. With the timber, the king made supports for the Lord's temple and for the royal palace, and stringed instruments for the musicians. No one has seen so much of this fine timber to this very day. There's my to this very day. King Solomon gave the queen of Sheba everything she requested besides what he had freely offered her. Then she left and returned to her homeland with her attendants. Rovent Relics, thank you for the follow. Hope I'm getting that name right. Welcome in. So, it's interesting here, and I'm wonder why the insert there of Hiram's fleet, bringing the gold from Ophir, bringing large quantities of timber and precious gems are mentioned in here. Why the interruption in things? And then also the temple and the royal palace and the stringed instruments for the musicians. So is there something that the Queen of Sheba, what she wanted was stringed instruments? Was it fine timber? She brought gold, so why would she need gold? That part doesn't make sense. Does she need precious gems? She brought spices, but she also brought precious gems. Maybe they're different gems. But anyway, Solomon gave the queen of Sheba everything she requested, besides what he had freely offered her. Okay, so what did she request, and what did he offer her? It does not tell us. It does not tell us. There are some who have speculated out there, and I don't mean in recent times, I mean in ancient times. And so we have stories around that one of the things that she requested was to have a child by Solomon. We have nothing in this passage that absolutely leans in the direction to say there was anything of that. We don't have him making her a queen or a concubine in the story. We have none of that listed. So I think that is not necessarily a good way to resolve this, but just putting it out there in case you hear it. That's one of those things of, well, he gave her everything she requested. What she requested was a child. I don't think so. I don't know what it is, but it's not important. What's important is that Solomon was able to indeed give her what her request was. It said he had peacocks, right? It might have said that. We haven't got to that part yet, but maybe we'll have that later. Solomon received 666 talents of gold per year, besides what he collected from the merchants, traders, Arabian kings, and governors of the land. King Solomon made 200 large shields of hammered gold. 600 measures of gold were used for each shield. He also made 300 small shields of hammered gold. 3 minas of gold were used for each of the shield. The king placed them in the palace of the fortress of Lebanon. So these are in the palace. I think later they're going to be in the temple. 3 minas. A mina was a unit of measurement. Okay, so we have shekels, we have measures, now we have minas. It's a lot. Faith Forge Gaming, welcome in. The king made a large throne decorated with ivory and overlaid with pure gold. There were 6 steps leading up to the throne, and the back of it was rounded on top. The throne had 2 armrests, with a statue of a lion standing on each side. There were 12 statues of lions on these 6 steps, 1 lion at each end of each step. There was nothing like it in any other kingdom. So, not entirely sure if the lions are all there to represent the 12 tribes of Israel, or if the lions are there just to simply represent the tribes of Judah. So we've got them on the steps. We've got them next to the throne. That's all that's going on. Welcome in, Christopher. Good to see you, friend. All of King Solomon's cups were made of gold, and all the household items in the palace of the Lebanon fortress were made of pure gold. There was no silver items, for silver was not considered very valuable in Solomon's time. Along with Hiram's fleet, the king had a fleet of large merchant ships that sailed the sea. Once every 3 years, the fleet came into port with cargoes of gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks. Hey, there it is, Lucis. There's the peacocks. So the word meaning of the word is unclear. Some suggest baboons rather than apes. So this is an interesting thing. So the ships are sent out on a 3-hour tour. A 3-year tour. So how far away are they sailing that they're going to go? I'm going to say if they're returning every 3 years, I think they may be going further than simply to Africa. I think they may be going further than simply to Africa at this time. And there has been some speculation of the copper that is in Michigan is very similar in structure to copper that has been found in Israel, like old coins and whatnot. I don't know if he went there. I mean, but 3 years in order to send a ship out, if you're just going to Africa, how long would a ship take to get to South Africa? Maybe they're going to India. Maybe they're going around to China. We don't know. He's sending them far away and they're coming back. So, I think it's far away. We don't know where it is. There's always speculation of where did his gold come from and the like. Sunshine. Some guy said that they represent the throne of God. Emerald eyes all over. Revelations talks about a connection, maybe. Oh, I've not heard that. That's interesting. I will have to think about that when we read Revelation. Christopher, doesn't the second word in the bird name just another synonym for yanking something back and forth like a shift stick? I don't know. I don't know the origins of that, but I don't. That's not what we would call it in English. Maybe England uses it that way, but not the United States. Papsio, you don't think it's a sailing time. You think it's a non-sailing time that takes up the time. They would have to stop and fix the ship and resupply pretty often. Oh, that's an interesting thought, that they might have to stop and resupply. I don't see, the thing is, knowing what size ship that they are would also make a difference on that, because like when you were sailing from Spain to the Americas on the ships that they had at that time, which are probably larger than the ships that Solomon's fleet had, you would stock up all that you need for that journey, which would be months and months at a time. So, but that's a valid point. Anyway, it's one of those speculations we don't have an answer to. King Solomon was wealthier and wiser than any of the kings on the earth. Everyone in the world wanted to visit Solomon to see him display his God-given wisdom. Okay, so a couple of things here. A God-given wisdom is the thing that they want to see, because they know no man is this smart. He must have this from God. So everyone, some say all the kings of the earth in the Old Greek translation in the Syriac versus everyone. However, like, this is only the world that would have heard of him. So saying everyone does not mean that those people in Australia and South America know about him and are trying to come to see him. So it's just a way of expressing the grandeur of this with totality language. Year after years, visitors brought their gifts, which included items of silver, items of gold, clothes, perfume, spices, horses, and mules. Solomon accumulated chariots and horses. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses. He kept them in assigned cities and in Jerusalem. Okay, we've just got to the first thing Solomon did wrong. Okay, kings are not supposed to multiply horses and chariots for themselves. Yes, it says that people are bringing these as gifts, but he is multiplying chariots and horses to himself. This is a caution. Now we know, wait a minute, Solomon has been doing things wonderfully. He's been doing things the way he should be, the way that instructions were given for the way that kings are to do things. Now something is amiss. Something is going wrong. Is it going to continue to go wrong, or is this just a one-off because gifts are coming in? He's not really trying to multiply to himself the wealth and power. It's coming because of the fame of his name, which we just had. So the king made silver as plentiful in Jerusalem as stones. Cedar was as plentiful as sycamore. Fig trees are in the foothills. Solomon acquired his horses from Egypt and from Q. Okay, now it's not just gifts that horses are coming. He's acquiring horses from Egypt and from Q. Now they put a footnote on Egypt, but they didn't on Q. Q is the place I don't know. From Egypt, because Q is also mentioned. Some prefer to see a reference to Mutsur. Q and Mutsur were located in Sicilia, Cappadocia in modern southern Turkey. So from the north and the south. The king's traders purchased them from Q. They paid 600 silver pieces for each chariot from Egypt and 150 silver pieces for each horse. They also sold chariots and horses to all the kings of the Hittites and the kings of Syria. Okay, so he is multiplying horses and chariots for himself, power for war, and now, why is he arming the Hittites and the king of Syria? Why are you arming potential enemies? Why are you arming the Hittites? Why are you arming Syria? This is not a thing you should do.